Happy Thursday, everybody. I am excited about tonight. I'm just going to tell everybody right now, you're going to have to hold on because when Professor and I get on, it's incredible. So we're going to have a really good time tonight. I have the delightful Professor Mrs. BJ Arnett from Clark Atlanta University with us. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and if I mess up, I'll ask her to correct me when she comes on. She is a co-executive producer, director, costumer, actor, and an educator. Former NBC 11 Alive Noonday anchor and entertainment lifestyle reporter, Mrs. BJ Arnett is no stranger to the film and entertainment industry. She is currently the host and the co-producer of BJA Today and Kame Arnett, she's gonna fix me, Production Studios original and host of TV 57's This Day with BJ Arnett. Mrs. Arnett has an MBA, BA in fashion merchandising, and an AA in fashion design. She is currently the interim chair of the Art and Fashion Department at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, where she is an associate professor in fashion merchandising as well. Ladies and gentlemen, will you, and you know what I have to say, there's so much more, but I just hit a couple of highlights. So would you please welcome Professor Mrs. BJ Arnett to our stage tonight. I wish I had some applause or something.
Oh, you are so funny. Thank you so much.
Look, I enjoy talking to you. I tell people it's amazing because when we first connected, everything's virtual now. When we first connected, we were like, it was almost like we had known each other for years.
Exactly.
So, you all have to hold on tonight. We're going to have a good conversation. So thank you for joining me tonight for this conversation. We're going to talk about Black colleges, talk about funding, talk about career day, and then we'll let Professor leave you with words of wisdom because she's very good with dropping those jewels. So welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So let's dive right in. Fashion. A lot of people don't even realize that Black colleges offer fashion programs.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, it's interesting that Clark Atlanta University is an extraordinary university. Let me start by saying that. Our art and fashion department is now, I believe, in terms of fashion in the nation, we are within the top 20, and actually we are in the top 12. So it is awesome to me to be able to work in my field, which is fashion, but on today's platform. Today's platform is all about social media. It's all about being seen in the quickness of our industry and being able to identify how fashion has shifted over these last 3 years. There's been some big changes, but Clark Atlanta University Art and Fashion Department has been on top of it. We've been listening to our students, innovating our department, our coursework, and giving the students an opportunity to have a say in how fashion is sent to them and received by them. Because now, if you have that little thing called a telephone, you have a say. So we're learning how to use that in a way that allows us to be able to have a seat at the table, but also own the space that we're in. And that becomes very important.
Yeah, that is so good. And it's amazing that you mentioned specifically these last 3 years. One of the things I have to interject right there because technology. One of the things that we're doing for Career Day is talking fashion and technology. Tuesday will be Fashion and Tech Night. We have a guru coming in. Look, I'm gonna tell people when I introduce him, like TD Jakes used to say, "Get ready, get ready, get ready,
get ready, get ready."
Because the future is now. So he's gonna talk about that. But just talking about some of the changes over the last 3 years, would it be more mainly that technology piece?
I think it's the technology piece and being able to identify what is the heartbeat of fashion. Because we got to a place where we couldn't touch it and feel it. We got to a place where we couldn't just run to the store or or even, you know, have Amazon put it at our doorstep there for a minute. We had to find a way to access our fashion vibe, if you will, through this technology and begin to be able to show who we are and show how we work in this field without having a live fashion show. There were so many things that we hadn't stepped in before. We had to come up with 3D fashion shows. We had to come up with the avatar that would do this. We had to come up with technologies that allow people to feel it, touch it, experience it, but not really. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
it became a test of our creativity. And what is so wonderful is that we innately, by design, come with a package of creativity, and we come with a overflow of some amazing designers and artists and musicians that pour into us, that allow us to be creatives. So I think what some people said, well, this is a horrible time. It was a great time to pull back in, to reflect, to create, and to come out of this thing better than we went in. My husband and
Mm-hmm.
I said at the beginning of it, we're coming out of this better than we went in. And we did,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a time for us to, as creatives, to pull in and say, come on,
Yeah.
what can we do to tell our fashion story? Technology is right here. We
Yeah.
must command the technology, not the technology command us.
Mm. Well, it's Tuesday night. I'm telling everybody, Mr. Samuel Alexander, if you haven't registered, you better register now because he's going to give, he won't have time to give us a deep dive into it, but get ready. Get ready.
And people who are in that field understood it and knew it and took off with it. You know, you didn't have to go figure it out for yourself. There's so many people doing great things. And I know on Tuesday, we're going to hear more about that and how we can jump on to an understanding that we didn't have before.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So talk about the programs, the fashion programs that you offer at Clark Atlanta University. And then that technology piece, how are y'all integrating that? Yeah, let's start with the programs and then let's talk a little bit, just a little bit, because I'm not the guru. I'm not. That's why Mr. Alexander, thank God for him. He'll be talking about that. But talk about how y'all are, adjusting with that.
Well, it's interesting that Clark Atlanta University's art and fashion program, it is art and fashion together. We're housed in one building. I'm over both art department and fashion. And fashion is fashion design and fashion merchandising. And on the art side, it's studio art and advertising art. So within the advertising art, you're going to have photography, you're going to have graphics, you're going to be able to put slogans together in terms of the visual art side of it to help sell products. In studio art, of course, you're talking about painting. You're talking about one of the areas that I love that we have in our studio art program is printmaking. We are one of few HBCUs that have moved into the printmaking field, which is a part of our history. As printmaking, as African Americans, printmaking is a part of our history. So now we get to have students learn how to develop their art story through printmaking. And that has been for 25 years at Clark Atlanta University, long before I ever stepped on the campus. There was a professor, Chris Hickey, who developed that program and saw that it was a story that could be told through the hands of our HBCU students at Clark Atlanta University. So I'm really excited that now with technology, we've been able to add to that studio art side with the technology and the even storytelling through our photo classes. That's like beautiful and amazing at the same time. And then when you take those two areas, studio art, uh, graphic art, or advertising, and you put that with fashion, Well, you've got the story being told with photographs, the story being told with paintings, the story being told with printmaking, and the story is all about the designs that are walking down the runway that the students have created, that they've labored over, that they've learned how to make the pattern, drape the mannequin. They've learned how to make seams look seamless,
Hmm.
and then you've got the merchandisers who have learned how to take that product that the designers had in their mind and help them bring it into the showroom called the Fab Lab and experiment with how to put it in a visual story so that visual story of that design makes a computer sing called a register
All right.
because we got to make it sing. So it's like all those parts and pieces together. That's what makes it beautiful. So I like what I
Mm,
do because it is storytelling, but in another way. And it is telling the story of fashion. I often tell my students that you have a responsibility to be the best.
that's right.
You don't have a choice. You have a responsibility
Say that
because someone
again.
came before you
That's right.
and
Say it
someone's coming
again.
after
Say
you.
it again.
Hmm.
You know, talking about that creativity. We are creative people, as you've already talked about. You've mentioned fashion, majoring in fashion. Who are the individuals that should pursue a career in fashion,
You
and
know,
what segments?
that is such a good question because I'm going to tell you, I have young people from junior high and high school give a call, and they say, I want to be a designer. I love fashion, and my first question is, do you sew? Do you sit at your grandma's knee, your mom's knee, your cousin? Have you learned how to sew? Because a designer has to be able to do that to a point. But then there's also the next question. Do you know how to illustrate what is in your head? Do you know how to take it and do 8 heads high, an illustration? When the answer is no, then they say, well, that's what I'm coming to school to learn. Yes, that is true. But you have to have a foundation. And usually that foundation is found at grandma's knee.
Mm,
It really is at grandma's knee. Even if the person has not ever sown, if they have been in the space with that grandma or auntie or cousin or friend around the way, if you took the class at the fabric store that they offer, you have to have some foundation in order to be able to do this. Now, because everybody says, I'm a creative, I'm not going to have to take math or English. Oh, yes, you are. I'm sorry. You are. You're going
let's
to
talk about that. Talk
yeah.
about because I'm working on a project now that deals with the STEM, the science, the technology, what is it? STEM. I'm missing one. But
You
talk about
need
that
to be
STEM.
able to fashion is a business. Let's
Mm-hmm,
let's let's start from there. Fashion is a business, and
mm-hmm,
it is not just millions of dollars, but it's trillions of dollars.
mm-hmm,
It is large business. So in order for you to be able to hold on to or grab a hold of a part of that $1 trillion industry, you've got to be able to know every part and parcel of it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be excellent in every part of it, but you have to know how to find the most excellent in that area.
mm-hmm.
So you can be a great creative mind as a designer and be an okay illustrator, but your illustration has to be good enough to show what you're trying to design. Then you've got to take your math skills into developing your pattern because when your professor says you're going to need to move in a fourth of an inch, oh, now let's back that up an eighth. You got to have a little math in you. Then you're going to have to be able to understand that shapes and sizes, body shapes and sizes come with numbers. If she's got a 22-inch waist and a 38 hip line and but a 34 bust line, you've got to be able to know how to balance that look that they want to wear. You can't just take a size 2 design and make it in a size 24, you've got to know where to pull in, where to push out, how to balance that look so it looks great on everybody from size 0 to size 24 or whatever. It's going to take a bit of math skills along with the creative skills. You have to be able to know how to communicate. So you do need that English class. You do
Yes.
need an English class that tells you how to write the story of your design. There's that
Mm.
portfolio. Before they even look at the picture, they're looking at a paragraph that describes what your line is about. If you don't know how to tell that story, then they're not going to flip the page, if you will, in order to see the design. So, yeah, you
Mm.
do need the English class. You
Mm.
need public speaking. You need business strategy. You
Yeah.
need the understanding of how to build business from an entrepreneurial side. It's
Okay.
not just the creative that has to click in, it's the business too.
Yes, it is. I know I was speaking with someone once before and they said, I just want to design. You got to know the business. You got
Got
to
to
know.
know the business. What did the old folks say? Baby, you got to have your lights on and to be able to create anything. And that's the truth. You've got to have your lights on in order to be able to sketch, in order to be able to illustrate, in order to be able to do that stitch. Have the
Mm.
lights on.
What do you say? Clark Atlanta offers an incredible program. I hear
Yes.
even reviews about it all the time. Thank you for it. What are some of, and I know you mentioned you mentioned about the genesis of the program.
Hmm.
What are some of the challenges, and I'll tell why I'm saying this because I've run into some schools who unfortunately have either discontinued their fashion programs
Yeah.
or are about to discontinue their fashion
Hmm.
programs. So what are some of the challenges that you're aware of that Clark Atlanta has overcome, successfully
Hmm.
overcome? And what advice do you offer to those institutions to maintain that creative program?
Update, update, update.
Hmm.
Update, update, update. The best way to update is to stay connected with the industry. Not, there is knowledge that you receive, that your students will receive from the book and from that textbook. And there's knowledge that your students will receive from a lecture. But there is the verification of all that you have said to them that they will receive from the industry. So update your relationships with the industry, bring them in to verify that you're teaching right on point. Because sometimes it's just like raising children. Your children will hear you say the same thing over and over again, day in and in, day out. But when someone from outside of their home says the very same thing, it is like they've never heard it before. Sometimes your students have gotten used to your voice, used to your program, and it's nothing wrong with updating your program and changing your voice. Allow another voice to come in that's speaking the same thing, that's singing the same song. And if perhaps someone comes in and they speak to your students and it doesn't sound exactly like what you would want them to hear, then it is your job as the professor, as the department chair, to bring it back in, to verify, to say, this is great information and let me show you how to use it. That
Hmm.
becomes necessary as well. But I think update, 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 update our equipment, update our relationships, and of course, update our knowledge as professors. Never stop working in your field because
Hmm.
you cannot give current information if you are not current. I know it's a hard one because
The truth is,
we all come into this thing on a different time,
yeah.
and our time was our time is back there. The time now is what we have to capture and give the historic as a foundation, but be willing to consistently add to our knowledge,
Mhm.
update our information, and make those critical connections with industry, even when it's uncomfortable. And it can be quite uncomfortable sometimes.
Will that help them? Because I'm hearing one of the main challenges is funding.
And I knew you were going to say that. And everyone is always looking for another place for funding to come from. And let me say, constantly saying, I need funding, I need funding, I need funding. You have to hear yourself after the third time and say, I'm going to go get funding.
Mm.
See, there's a slogan that Clark Atlanta University has, university wide. It's find a way or make a way. If you need funding, find a way or make a way. That sometimes looks kind of like you're a renegade. It's okay. When you bring the funds in, everyone will forget you were a renegade getting it. They'll be just glad you got it. And you could be able to buy a new piece of equipment, that you could expand your program, that you could develop systems that are new and better and stronger that service your students. We have to remember our students, not only as educators are we responsible for opening their mind, but we have to remember that we are also servicing a need. And it's a need that's a worldwide need.
Mhm.
These are creatives of brown and black skin that need to be seen by the world. So, funding, let's go get it
Mm.
and bring it in. And it is not easy. Let me just say, it is not easy. It does take consistency. It
Mhm.
does take us stepping out of our comfort zone. It does take building relationships outside of the norm. Everything is different now. So we have to think differently. How would we do it if we were absolutely parched and we had no water? What would we do in order to get the water? Well, this level of education that we are in and needing funding means that we have to go get the water and bring it back in. First, we have to sip it for ourselves, and then we have to share it with our students.
Mm.
So there's a different way that we have to think about education and how we set the platform for it.
Mhm. That is so good. Um, if there's any instructor, professor that may be listening, what 3 to 5 words would you offer them as far as starting to seek, funding?
I think the first thing is to talk to other professors in your arena, in your own campus. Is there a department that is receiving funding? What are they doing? What are the systems that they're using? So I think it's a good thing to talk to the other professors, even though they may not be a creative, you know, I do talk to our scientists. I don't know what they're talking about, and they don't know what I'm talking about. They don't, when I say 8 heads tall, they're like, huh? When they say a data driven something, 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 I can't even give you an example. But there's a synergy of we want to help our students get to the next level, right? So that's our center. That is the point where we come together. So if I see a scientist in the science department who's a professor hitting the numbers and raising funds, I'm going to him and say, what did you do? I need to know what you did. You're going to tell me you're not leaving this room till you tell me what you did. I need to know, because with that information, I can take the jewels from that and apply it to my field. So I think that's the first step. Look in your own backyard, so to speak, and see what everybody's doing. See who is having success in funding. But the other thing I would say is put yourself out there to meet people in areas that are like-minded, not necessarily fashion design or fashion merchandising. Try music. Is there a synergy there? Of course there is. There's a synergy with art. So there are um, funding engines out there that have nothing to do with fashion, but they really like HBCU and the creative spirit that they're seeing in something called the art and fashion department.
Mm.
So sometimes we're just looking We're looking in such a little tight area, and we just need to open our mind and open our area, our sphere of influence. We need to just really open up a bit.
Yeah, that is very good. Let's talk a little bit about Career Day. Last year, we connected for Black Fashion Career Day. It was the first one. How did the Career Day and the exploration of careers? We had students, we had career changers.
Hmm.
We have an audience of 18 to 44, which is wide, but it's good
Yes.
to see this. But how did the Career Day supplement your teachings and as well as your art and fashion weekend? And you have another one coming up. So
We
go.
have another one coming up April 4th through 8th. I will say to you how that it is just what I just said. It is opening our mind. It is getting new data, if you will. It is being updated. It is connecting. Our students want to connect with other students around the world who look like them, sound like them, have similar successes and issues. And in Career Day, they were able to hear each other's story and pull from that and be able to use it. If you're not telling the story in an environment like this, where they can hear from this one and this one and this one and this one, then you're not having the opportunity to learn from those stories. So I think what Career Day did was open our eyes, open our students' eyes, and open our professors' eyes, and myself included, to be able to see broader,
Wow.
but also to be able to pull from that Career Day, what is it that I need? It was right there. What you're going to be doing on Tuesday, the technology side, I will be tapping in with my students and saying, okay, you need to know about this. We saw technology explode with ways for us to expose people to our fashion. Now, with Career Day, we're finding out how this one did it, and this one did it, and this one did it. So we just need to keep telling those stories. How did we benefit? We were able to hear the stories, pull from those stories, use that information to help grow what we are doing. And I think that becomes very important. And then there's development of that community of fashion influencers of 2025 and 2028 and 2030. They are being developed by these stories called Career Day. And I think that is what made it important.
Hmm. Don't make me cry. um, Thank you. Because when I hear these testimonies, that helps me keep going
Absolutely.
because it's so not about me.
Hmm.
Um, your art week that is coming up, talk about that.
Art and Fashion Week is April 4th through April 8th, and it starts off with a bang. We have lots of fantastic speakers. We've got some wonderful companies on board with us. Of course, we have Levi that has taken the time and energy and access, and I can't even explain to you what these people have done over this term with our senior students. They have taken their time to mentor, review portfolios, to help them understand how to build a better portfolio from every part of the creative process of designing and merchandising and bringing the product to the sales floor. They have been 100% with us, and they're going to be an integral part of the experience for Art and Fashion Week. We have some amazing artists and graphic artists, the studio artists and graphic artists who will be joining us. One of which in the advertising design area is one of the biggest names in the industry today, and I'm not allowed to say yet who that is, but he's one of the biggest names in the industry today, and he graduated from Clark Atlanta University. So that kind of makes my heart go because he's an amazing talent, and he has had the down and the what is it? He's hit the lows and the highs, and he has been on the highs for quite a long time now, and he's been able to help our students understand how to navigate through the start. What do you
Mhm.
do once you walk across that stage? That's an eye-opening moment for most students,
Yes.
and it's a difficult moment for most students. So
Yeah.
it's there's the graduation and all the parties, but there's the reality of where is the industry. Last year was very scary for people because COVID was so rampant, but now we are seeing that students have really gotten an understanding of how to move. So Art and Fashion Week is going to celebrate the things that we've come through
Hmm.
in art and fashion. And of course, celebrate by having industry leaders from Levi, from J.C. Penney, from Signet Jewelers that own most of the jewelry stores in every mall that you might come across, along with they were the founder of many of us received our high school graduation ring from their parent company. So that's how I knew of Signet Jewelers is my graduation, my high school ring. Yes. So we've got those folks joining us. We also have American Eagle. We also have Walmart and a sundry of other companies that will be joining us. We are really excited about the diversity of the types of companies. We have influencers from the fashion industry, from the entertainment industry, and from the film industry, from the faith based film side, and from the radio side even. So we're very, very excited about how vast the program has gotten. There'll be Zoom after Zoom after Zoom of wonderful panels from interior design to fashion and entertainment to fashion design and fashion merchandising. We will have a styling competition where students are looking at a piece of art and they have to be inspired by that piece of art and create a fashion styled look that was inspired by that piece of art. So we've got some fantastic things happening. The week culminates with our art and fashion show, senior exhibition fashion show that will happen on that Friday afternoon at 3:30. We will have fashions from our very own senior graduating art, fashion design, and fashion merchandising students coming across the stage. Wonderful designs. I saw some of them today as they compete on different levels across the country in different competitions. So I got to see some of the designs today. So I was really excited. We even have students who are now accessory designers. Some of the most amazing bags. My goodness, I expect to have one by the end of the event.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. And I want to say, because I know there is a delay, if anybody has any questions that you would like to submit to Professor, please go ahead and put those in because we'll be wrapping up the conversation shortly. I want to thank her. Oh my gosh, always a pleasure talking with you.
You
What
as well.
what if there's anybody who's listening now
Mhm.
and they feel as though they want to pursue a career in fashion, they might not have friends or family that support them. Are there any words of advice you offer for them?
I'm going to tell you a story of a little girl from Kentucky who was at 17, was ready to graduate high school, and parents were packing her up to go to Antioch College, which was the prerequisite for law school. The week before time to go, she had a screaming, crying meltdown and said, "But I want to do fashion." Everybody in the house thought she had bumped her head, but she is now the interim chair of the art and fashion department at Clark Atlanta University. So there is hope. I remember the expression on my mother's face. My dad was so much sweeter. My mom was like, "Have you lost your mind?" That is the story of many fashion people. I mean, that's a story that you hear over and over again that no one understands because the first thing you think, art, fashion, music, my child is going to starve. No, they're not going to starve. Where your passion is, many times is what you will put all of yourself into. You will work 14 hours, take a nap, get back up, sew some more, do another illustration, paint another picture, turn the music on super loud, dance around the room, and go back to your canvas.
Mm,
There's something about you being in the place that you were called by God to be in. It's inside of you, and you must give birth to that beautiful creative process. So, what do you do when no one understands what you were called to do? You go to the one who called you to do it and you ask for instruction. And then you say to yourself, I can do these things because you said could. And I must do them because they're a gift to someone else. It's
mm.
just not about me.
Thank you for sharing your story. Somebody needed to hear that. Um, I do have one question for you. Alicia, let me put this question up. I think you might be able to see it. She says, do you have any advice for new designers?
Yes, don't stop illustrating. Put a notepad, put a sketch pad by your bed. I don't know about you, but I will wake up with a dream of a dress. I'll wake up with a song in my head. I want you to be able to not lose that. So put that illustration book by your bed. And if you wake up and that design is in your head, illustrate it right then and there. Do a quick thumb sketch right then and there. Do that. Don't think at any point it's too little or it's not good enough. Once you make that first sketch, then you must go about the business of refining it. But it's a process. So you're going to have a thought in your head, you're going to sketch that thought, you're going to then make it a refined illustration, and then you're just going to keep going. Now, one of the ways that you, as a new designer, can inspire yourself, go to your local drugstore or grocery store and look at every fashion magazine on the shelf. You don't have to buy it. You just have to flip through the pages very carefully not to damage the magazine. So then you begin to get your chops as a creative. You begin to train your eye and your mind as to what the current line looks like, what shapes are popular right now. And then once you have that foundation, you'll go to sleep, you'll wake up with another design because you will have educated yourself in a very soft and soothing way just by increasing your palette of design by flipping through the pages of other designers. Go to a movie and watch every costume that comes across. Decide who you think is the best costumer in film and in television. One of my absolute favorites, of course, is Ruthie Carter. When she did Black Panther, I said, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me just go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Because then you look at that film, then you have to go back to her last 10 films.
Mm,
And then you begin to see how she arrived at Black Panther. Oh, you talk about education? That is a education in history. She studied tribal design and she studied how the jewelry was made and she studied how the tribe lived and moved and what they would put with what in terms of color, in terms of design, in terms of even how they voice, how they speak. New designer, you're only new for a minute. Starting is only the beginning. You must finish. So just get started.
Look here, I have to share this comment with you. Dale says Professor is telling the real truth tonight. This has been incredible. I tell y'all, look, I have to look at the time to behave because when Professor and I talk, we can talk, but we have to stick to time and be respectable. I'm going to ask her one question as food for thought, but I just want to give highlights for anybody who's listening. Uh, Professor has given us a lot of food for thought already. Uh, what you said about career day just Okay, keep going. I'm not gonna cry. That lets me know. Keep going. Keep going. Keep
Yeah.
going. You've
Don't stop.
already said it. Um, and because she said that, and you can see my face, you know it wasn't scripted. That just came straight from her. If you have not registered for Career Day, you need to register. Jewels are not free. You're going to get access to professionals who've been kind enough to say yes to me to be able to empower you because they want to make sure you succeed. You succeed. The ticket is $15.99. You get the replays from last year, which includes Oscar-winning costume designer Ruthie Carter.
Yes.
I may have some extra people coming. I'll let y'all know tomorrow or Monday. I can't say. Um, but you're getting jewels. The Bible says, buy wisdom and sell it not. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing about that, not only that, but you're becoming a part of the solution
Mm-hmm.
because that $15.99 that you put in, or $9.99 if you have a group, because group rates are possible, it's reinvested back into the community. We're going to use that in our stylist scholarship fund to send somebody a full scholarship based on their grades to the Fashion Institute of Technology. So that is an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing for you. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in the community. It's a model for keeping that black dollar in the community, helping each other. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, get your ticket. Tell everybody you know. Tag someone that you know needs to be there. We have some incredible people. I'll put the when I put this in, it's not going to go over to LinkedIn. There's a connection, something with the connection in StreamYard the text doesn't go over, but it is blackfashioncareerday.org. Blackfashioncareerday.org. I'll put it in the chat. With that said, Professor, if someone is on the fence about coming, what final words do you have for them? And just in general, um, food for thought that you want to leave them with?
One of the things that becomes very noticeable is when we decide not to do something, we have to take a look at the reason why. If you will buy a handbag for 150, certainly you can spend $15.99 to open your mind to new experiences, to grow your industry, and to grow you in that industry. This is about you getting all that you can get, and Career Day is for you to receive, because what you receive will turn out to be a gift to someone else, because you will become a better designer, a better artist, a better fashion professional. Fashion is an art. It's a statement. In order for you to be able to make the right statement, you must be able to be influenced by other creatives who can help open your mind and increase your vision. So take the step.
Professor Mrs. BJ Arnett, as always, this has been phenomenal. Thank you. And everyone else, I am going to sign off and wish you all a good night.
Thank you so much, Miss Tina.